I'm just double checking as usual that my microphone is working. I did have some issues last week, which was... It is working, beautiful. All right, so let's have a little think about this one. So I'm just trying to switch on my phone so I can see what you guys are writing. Here we go. So, all right, so there's a few things I want to do this session, which is going to make it a little bit of a different session than what we usually do. For those of you who have been following us obviously quite closely, you would have released, you would have seen a new blog post that actually was published only a couple of hours ago. So if you did see it, congratulations. That's quite speedy. But if you didn't, I won't blame you. One of the things that we released recently, and you're as attendees of this kind of streaming, you're probably aware of this anyway. But one thing that we released somewhat recently is the ability to create a full-page chatbot within the ubisend platform. Well, while this feature was released probably a couple weeks back now, we basically released it obviously to our existing customers and gathered loads of feedback and worked quite a lot in the back end to improve it. And now we're quite in a good place to actually start releasing and talking about it to the entire world. Hence this kind of announcement blog post of, this is new in ubisend, an engaging full-page chatbot experience. So I won't obviously go through this blog post, that'd be a bit silly, but if you do go to blog.ubisend.com, you'll find this. This is the latest blog post that we've released. So you'll find this, and I might actually link it into the chat as well later on. But yeah, so in here I kind of go through the feature itself, why it's there, what you can do with it, what the advantages are of a full-page chatbot, and also a little bit about the history behind it. You may not know that actually we built chatbots, full-page chatbots a while back, way before kind of other people maybe caught on. So early in 2017, we already did some of that work for a couple of big brands, big local to the UK brands, and it worked really well, which is why we always kept this full-page chatbot approach in the back of our mind. We've always kept iterating about it, iterating on it, making it better and better, and the version that we just released, which looks a little bit like this, is actually really, really cool. So what I want to do is, because we're kind of announcing this today, I want to go through and work through some of the key differences between a normal, quote-unquote normal, widget chatbot, like the one you might see here on my website, on the website here. So this is kind of the typical type of chatbots that you'll see on websites. So it's kind of this little widget that sits in the bottom right of your screen, and you can click on it, and it just kind of sits there. I can navigate, I can move around, I can read, I can click different buttons, I can do all sorts of things, which really allow me to really navigate the website. It's not really intrusive or anything like that. It's just there if I need to. But if I click on it, obviously I start this interaction. Now that's great. As you can see, I've asked a really important question to this chatbot early on. The key difference, obviously, with a full-page chatbot is that the full-page chatbot is, as its name implies, it takes the entire screen. You don't navigate the website and then kind of interact with the full-page chatbot. You either interact with it or you don't. You either go to a link on your website that has the full-page bot, or you don't. If you are on there, just double checking. If you are actually talking to a full-page chatbot, another great advantage is that you're not distracted by anything else. I'll go obviously into the platform and I'll work through those in a minute. But as you can see here, if this was, the purpose of this chatbot here is to generate leads for us and to generate obviously interest to the ubisend platform. But someone could arguably, particularly if I close this, someone could arguably navigate our entire website, read about it, go through our pricing page, read and get educated into what ubisend does and what ubisend is and everything, and that's great, but they may never ever interact with our chatbot, and so it's kind of sitting there, sitting idle, not really doing anything, unless someone actually clicks on it and interacts with it, which has its merits. But if you go actually to a full page chatbot, obviously there's nothing else you can do. The navigation is gone, the text is gone, the pretty images from your website, maybe the banner ads, all of that sort of stuff is gone from distracting you, and you're no longer distracted, and you're actually fully focused into what you're actually trying to achieve. And one of the things that I can bring up in this blog post here is that actually what we've seen is, because of this full focus approach, where there is no distraction, there is nothing else you can do but talk to the bot, what we found is completion rate in terms of going through a process, whatever that process might be, whether that's lead generation or an HR process or anything like that, is really, really high, much higher than a normal, quote-unquote, normal chatbot. And yeah, what we're going to do is I'm going to actually host a proper webinar on this towards the middle of June, where we'll share quite a lot of insights and feedback in terms of metrics and things like that data that we've managed to collect and comparisons. So stay tuned for that, because you'll figure out, or you'll learn more about specificities around this. But suffice to say at the moment that if a user is focused on actually talking to a full page chatbot, they're not doing anything else, and therefore they kind of, it's probably a stretch to say that, but they're kind of on the edge of their seat, waiting for the next message, sending a message, waiting for an answer, sending a message, waiting for an answer. Whereas here, again, I could be talking to the bot and asking really, really important questions, but if I go and I'm just talking, I'm waiting for the bot to respond, and I'm just kind of reading this, and I'm like, oh, that sounds cool, I'm gonna actually, I'm actually gonna go and click this. Now all of a sudden I'm gone. I'm doing something else, I'm distracted. And if I was just in the middle of actually giving my phone number, email address, etc., to actually get a call back from sales, for instance, now all of a sudden we've lost that lead potentially. So that's kind of the benefits of full page chatbots. Now, obviously, there are some downsides to them. One of them is obviously there is nothing else you can do. So if you send a user to a full page chatbot and they don't really want to talk to a chatbot, they want to actually just read your website or watch a video, if you didn't really program your chatbot to do that, you might lose some users early on. To be honest, I haven't really seen this as being a major issue, because typically people who will use our platform to build a full page chatbot are very aware of this, and so they'll create an onboarding sequence that's really suited for a full page chatbot experience. The second thing is, obviously a full page chatbot is only really placed on one page of your website. This is really good for some reasons. So this is really good because it means you can actually link them at the top here. We'll go through that in a minute. We have a full page chatbot on our website. So it's great. You can always point traffic to it. You can create an ad that will point traffic to it, etc. But it's obviously, the downside is, unless someone actually clicks that link and goes to the full page chatbot, they'll never really engage with your chatbot. So a little bit like here, I could have this bot here sitting in bottom right and no one would ever see it. Here we have a chatbot here behind this big button, but if no one clicks it, they would never see it either. And so that's obviously one of the downsides. Now, okay. So that's kind of the introduction I wanted to give. So we're really excited about this. If you want to go and have a proper read, I will really encourage you to go through that. There's loads of content here, and I kind of share why I personally like this, and how our customers have been using it, how our partners have been using it as well, creating really, really cool experiences for their customers. All right, cool. So enough talking. What I want to do is since we started these drop-ins, I've built two full chatbots in basically two kind of series of 7 to 8 episodes. We first built a customer support chatbot, which is the one I have on the screen here. And then afterwards, we built a lead generation chatbot, which we'll go into in a minute. So basically what I want to do is I want to go back to the two that I've created, and we'll explore some of the stuff that we've done. They were both built for the widget chatbot. And so we'll kind of see the differences between the two channels, see how things translate, and if there's anything that we can do to tweak it. Alright, so the first bot we built was this customer service chatbot. So for those of you who were there, I will go through a little bit of what this actually does, so apologies for that. So this was, I don't remember when we built this, probably March time, I guess, I would guess, maybe February. And this bot in particular was built to help a company which hosts live events with their customer service questions. And so if we go into the NLP here, the FAQs, these are the FAQs that we built for this particular bot. So it's all sorts of questions that customers might ask about attending the event. So can I bring drinks inside the venue? Where can I watch your events online? What is the minimum age requirement to attend? All that sort of stuff. And so we built only about 6 FAQs here, not too many. But then we also built some interactions or some conversations, to actually just purchase a ticket or do a customer inquiry here, which obviously is something that people will do all the time. So as a customer, you want to raise a ticket, you'll have the opportunity to do so here by giving your name, giving your email address, and giving whatever the issue you're facing is. So like I said, we built this bot back then. As far as the channels were concerned, we built this bot as a Converse chatbot, and then for some reason we activated Facebook Messenger. I'm just going to deactivate that for now. And then I just activated the full page chatbot again. So initially what we kept doing is kept building something in the bot and then going into demo, which this is, if you remember, this is the exact same thing that we have on this screen here. So it's the same thing that we have here. So it's this kind of interaction here or window. So this is a Converse or widget chatbot. We call it Converse within the ubisend platform. As you can see, it's here. The Converse widget is, like I said, sits in the bottom right of the screen. It's kind of narrow. It's narrow and tall. So obviously the design that you're going to have within the bot is quite different from when you have a chatbot that is wide and takes the entire screen. So what I want to do is I want to go and have a look at what we built because I do remember designing this back then with the designing the full page bot, but we didn't really go through the actual interaction. So here, if I go into channels, full page, I can find the code that I would have to put on my website for this full page chatbot to appear. So if I was to actually add this full page chatbot to my website, I would literally just copy the entire code, put it into an HTML file, or ask my developers, if you don't know how to do this, ask my developers to put it into an HTML file, upload it to the website, and you're pretty much good to go. We're not going to do that because we're not actually going to put this live, but what we can do is we can have a look at the actual link here. If I just grab this link here, this is the link that's in the iframe, the entire chatbot. So if I go to this URL, what we see here is the actual full page chatbot. So I'm just going to quickly reset this. Okay, so a couple of things I want to do with this particular one. If I remember correctly, there are a few things that we did that were specific to this chatbot that we built. And the first was that we created this GDPR policy accepting button here. So at the moment, as I land on this website, on this page, on this full page chatbot, there's nothing I can do to type. I can't talk to this bot. There's nowhere for me to type. The simple reason for this is that we actually created a GDPR policy. You have to agree to the GDPR policies before you can actually move on. This is something that will be quite frequent in chatbots in general. If we go into the actual the widget, you'll see that it's happening here as well. So we have the same message here, the 2 buttons, and we can't type anything. So the first thing I want to show you is, because the Converse widget and the full page chatbot were both built by us, it comes as no surprise that we actually obviously created similar experiences both for the Converse and for the full page bot. So if you have gone away and created an amazing Converse chatbot, and all of a sudden you're like, great, this full page thing is now available, you can actually just activate it, and you will have your chatbot pretty much ready to go. Nothing much or needs to be changed. Some things will need to be changed, which is why we're going to go through this now. But basically, these 2 functionalities here completely the same. So I can't type anything until I click to the policies. I can obviously read the policies if I wanted to. I just send this there. But what I can do is I just agree to the policies. Okay, so here's the interaction that we're getting. So great, welcome to the Blast Premier chatbot. As you can see, I can send a message, but as you can see here at the bottom, I am on step 1 out of 2, and there's a little next button, which basically allows me to go to the next button. Ask me about our events, teams, and giveaways and more. So as you can see, the kind of interaction here changed a little bit. Whereas we had just a full page message with a box for me to actually type. Here, as I click to the next step, it just kind of moves everything to the left, adds the video that's there on the right, and moves kind of the interaction, the places where I can interact with the chatbot towards the left. Now, again, if we compare this to the converse widget, I can agree to the policies. Welcome to the Blast Premier chatbot, and then you have kind of these two messages, one after the other. So that's a really key difference between the two. You have with the full page chatbot, you actually have a one message message by message interaction, which means that at any point throughout your conversation, you will only ever see one message from the chatbot on your screen from the full page bot. And this is a really, really key difference. Whereas here, I could actually go back and kind of read through and see what I did, and there's this kind of interaction that you'd expect to see if you were talking to a friend or a family member on WhatsApp or whatever. You have this quote-unquote normal interaction. With a full page bot, this doesn't happen. You only ever have one message on the screen at a time. Now it kind of looks a bit surprising probably to a lot of people that we kind of made this decision, but we did make this decision for a very specific reason, and the specific reason is when you send one message at a time to your user and they are in this kind of boxed in experience, they are fully immersed in what they're actually trying to do. So in this instance, yes, I need to click this button to read about it, and I can ask my questions here. So let's say, can I bring drinks to the events? So I don't know if this one's gonna work. I didn't get that. So, okay, but that's fine. What's important here is I sent a message, I sent a question, and then instantly I get a response, which is fully on display for me to just read that and do nothing else. So again, we go back to what I was saying at the start, which is with a full page chatbot, you don't want any distractions. You just want the questions and answers. So I don't really know which kind of questions I can ask it actually, which is probably a bit of a mistake. So I'm just going to go back. Can I bring drinks inside the venue? Let's see. All right, perfect. Here we go. Can I bring drinks inside the venue? Okay, food and drinks from outside the area are not, arena are not allowed. There are plenty of food and drink stalls inside the venue. So again, one question, one answer. I get my answer and it's in full screen. This is all I can think about, all I can do. So this is super important, and what I want to do as if I was in a place to actually activate a full page chatbot for a chatbot that I have built a while back in the Converse widget, is actually go through a couple of the FAQs just to make sure that everything I'm asking actually returns something that's relevant for me, something that's actually that makes sense, that is in a nice format. So here in this instance, so I've asked, what are your refund policies? Within 8 to 28 days, I can actually ask for a refund. So I have the answer to my question, perfect, but also have a nice button here, submit an inquiry, which if I remember correctly, is going to basically trigger a customer service fallback interaction. So I can do that. So I can say, all right, I do want to submit an inquiry. So, okay, I can take a message and forward it to my team. What seems to be the problem? I need my ticket refunded. I can't attend anymore. So I can send that, okay. It's thinking, thank you, noted, perfect. So my team can reach out to you. I will also need a few personal details. No problem, I'm on step 2 out of 3 here, so this is keeps going. What is your name? Alex. Thank you, Alex. Next step. Finally, what is your email address? Our team will use this to contact you back. So if I remember correctly, I think I built some sort of validation here. So if I say I don't know, it might tell me, please enter a valid email address. Okay, perfect. So it's asking me to make sure that I'm actually sending an email address and not just some random messages. So I can say, Alex at alex.com. thanks Alex, my team is on the case, they'll send you an answer within 24 hours. So, okay, so that's kind of the first thing I would do, is go through this entire process and make sure that what I've done in the Converse widget also translates within the full-page chatbot. One thing that you'll notice is, which you do need to be aware of, is when you actually create these messages that might be in several steps. Obviously, like we've seen, people will have to click through to the next step. And so if you were to build a chatbot that is fully and only built for full page, what you might want to do is tweak the content a little bit so that they get the entire content within the first interaction that they have. And we'll actually go through that a little bit when we review the ubisend full page bot in a second, where it has a lot more content because it uses more of the real estate that's on the screen here. But it's something that you want to think about as you build this kind of interaction here, where you do have, in this instance, 2 messages one after the other, or some chatbots will have 4 or 5 messages one after the other, just to try and break things up. With a full page bot, those will all require a click from the user, which you obviously want to be careful of. Okay, so another thing I want to do is I do want to go through one of the conversations I built here, which was to purchase a ticket. So what can I do here? So what I want to do is, so I want to trigger this conversation. Now, for those of you who don't remember, we actually built this conversation to actually trigger when someone asks a specific question. But for now, I'm not going to go through that. All I want to do is just ask this question or send this little keyword here, which is going to trigger this very specific conversation here. So as you can see, we build this conversation to do the following. So it starts with 2 messages. I'll allow you to buy purchase a ticket if you are 18 or older. So it's asking me that question. So we'll see if this message actually translates quite well into the full page bot. Then if people say yes, we get a nice carousel here of multiple ticket options. So we can have a look at that as well, see how that's going to translate within the bot, or how that's going to look like. And then depending on that, you get 1 or 3 options. So you can do, the 1 day pass, 2 day pass, full day pass. And then depending on that, obviously you purchase your ticket. All right, so this is what I want to do. So I just sent the keyword. So I'm now onboarded at the very top of this conversation, which is good. That's exactly what we want. So let's get you a ticket to the Spring Showdown. All right. So that's the first message. Obviously, as you can see, 1 out of 2 messages. So I'm going to go to the next, see what happens. Before we move on, can you confirm that you are 18 years or older? Obviously I am, so I can click yes. So as you can see, that message actually translated really well in the full page bot. It has these nice little buttons that I can use. Okay, great, let's do this. So now, as you can see, 1 out of 3 messages. This is the kind of stuff I was just talking about. So if you are building this interaction just for a full page bot, you might want to actually trim this down. You could create these, you can merge these 2 into 1 message, for instance. That would be a good idea. So okay, great, let's do this. Which pass would you like to purchase? And we receive a few options here. So now we kind of get to this carousel, a full page carousel, which looks incredible. So let's have a quick look at what's happening here. So the message that we actually build is obviously a carousel, which always contains an image, a title, a subtitle or a description, and then however many buttons you can build here, which is, I think it's up to 5. But more importantly, you can have multiple cards that look similar. So here, if I scroll to the right, you can see that we have 3 cards here with slightly different copies. So we see this one is for the 1 day pass, this one's for the 2 day pass, this one's for the full pass, with different prices and different buttons. Now, this interaction is really cool. It's really nice as a user. Users absolutely love it when they talk to our bot. And what we want to see is that this actually translates quite well within the full page bot. So what happens here is, as I explained earlier, when you move from one step to the next of the conversation, sometimes the full page bot, because it has so much real estate, so much space on the page, you can move a little bit the elements around and just create a really nice interaction. So here we go from a very specific, simple message, which is this one. This is just a standard message, to a carousel message. And as you can see, it did this thing that it did earlier with the video. It kind of slides left with the content, and then on the right we have the nice images. And so now we're on step 3 out of 3. So we're obviously going to have to make a decision here. The the three options are here. So as you can see, I have 1, 2, 3 dots. So we're now on the 1 day pass here. But if I click this, I go to the 2 day pass. If I click this, I go to the 3 day, the 4 pass. So as you can see, we can still navigate this carousel in a very, very nice, nice interaction to kind of find exactly which one I want to purchase. And each of them, the buttons don't look like they change, but the actual interaction behind the button actually changed. So this whole entire left-hand side of the screen is actually changing as you navigate between the different carousels. So I'm going to take, let's say this one. So I picked a 2 day pass, and as you can see, it's pushing me to the right place. So I picked the 2 day pass, and it's taking me down this one route here, which is perfect. So this is message 1 out of 2. So next thing I need to do is now what we have here is what we call an action message. Action messages have a bit of text at the top, no images or anything like that, but 2 big buttons just below it, and they look like this in the actual Converse widget, but they look like this in the full page bot. So they're kind of different. If you remember, we had another message that had 2 little buttons on the left, here on the left hand side here, and those are quick replies, which are kind of slightly different ways of actually formatting your answers. But again, this works perfectly. So the action message is working fine. I can pick whichever one I want. I'm going to pick the VIP. And cool. So this is now the last step of the conversation here, which is this one, VIP ticket. So if you remember when I did these sessions, what we discussed was at this step you will actually send a payment message, which is completely possible. So if I went in here, I could edit this step, message content. I can scroll all the way down to payment, and as you can see, we have a payment gateway kind of message type, which would work completely fine were it not for the fact that I obviously don't have a merchant account on the Global Pay or anything like that. So I can actually set it up properly for you to see it without actually having something to show you. So I couldn't really do that, which is why these messages are completely standard. But it took me down to the right path, which is perfect. Cool. So this is kind of the first review we wanted to make. So the bot that we built back then works perfectly fine with this. The few tweaks I would make with this particular bot is I would merge some of the messages together. Some of them are a bit too short, don't really have an intent behind them that's worth enough to actually warrant 2, 3, 4 clicks from the user to kind of read through the entire message. So what I would do is I would merge some of these messages together. A good example was earlier we had a message that was like great, like this one. So great, let's do it, and then a question, and then the carousel. What I would do here to make the experience a bit better is just merge the top 2 messages here. Super simple type stuff. One thing I want to show you, because I didn't go through this earlier, is obviously we don't have the experience, the history, the conversation history within the conversation within the full page chatbot like you would on a normal, quote unquote normal chatbot. Where here, if I said, I'm just going to send some random things to this bot, blah blah blah, blah blah blah. It's gonna just keep saying hello. Blah, blah, blah. All right, cool. So now I sent loads of messages. And if I scroll back up, I can see the entire history, and I can go back and kind of say, I want to ask this again, and I can just send this again. Now, obviously, because the full page chatbot only has this kind of message by message approach, you can't scroll back up. You can't scroll back to your history of messages, which is where this history button comes in handy. So the history button here basically allows me to go back and see all of the messages that I've sent to this bot. They are in reverse chronological order, which means that the very last one I sent is the one at the bottom. The very latest one I sent is the one at the top. So there's a few things I can do with this. The first thing I can do is I can say, I can trim down. If I had a really long history, I can go and find the message that I sent a while back. And for this, like I can just use the search box to do that. The second thing I can do is I can just use this to resend the same message. So now I just hit resend. It's going to retake me to the conversation that we just had. So that's another thing we can do. Another thing I can do is I can actually save a message. So here, if I click save, Now this message will always be at the top here. So if I go back and I talk to the bot and I do all sorts of things and I come back, this message here is always at the top. As you can see, it has this little bookmark icon. And again, this is really good if I want to save a message that I know I'll send a lot to the bot. So in this instance, it doesn't really make much sense for a customer service chatbot, unless, and I could see it if you had a customer service chatbot that allows you to track your parcel, for instance. You could go to the bot and just say, you know, where is my parcel, which is going to trigger this conversation about finding your parcel. And what could happen is, obviously, your parcel takes 55 days to arrive, so you get really annoyed by this. And so instead of having to type it every time, you can go to the bot here and just save this message for next time. So when you come back next time, you can just say, resend, where is my parcel? So that's super helpful. So all of this super helpful, allows you to have this kind of interaction. Same thing for an HR bot, where, you know, in HR specifically, a lot of interactions are very cyclical. Every month, people will ask the same questions. People will have the same kind of concerns about their pay, or the kind of number of holidays they have left, or when is the next XYZ event. And so this kind of interaction, again, we've noticed this a lot in HR. People actually use these save buttons to do exactly that, so that when next time they come back and they have forgotten again what this acronym means on their payslip, they can just resend the same thing. So very, very helpful. And then obviously we have the typical animation design features here, which allows you to reset the bot, allows you to have alerts if you have notifications, for instance, and obviously history and the chat. Boom. So that's a nice overview of the 4-page bot. Not much I would change for this particular one that we built a couple of weeks back, or yeah, a couple of months back now. So the next one I want to go through is the ubisend one. So ubisend, as you've potentially have seen, we obviously have a website which talks about the platform that we have and the kind of services that it offers, the kind of features it has, all of that sort of stuff. And obviously we are a business, so we're always looking for leads, for new customers. And one of the ways to do this is obviously to let people get in touch with us to book a demo. There are a few ways to do that. So if you go into, you know, features and benefits, for instance, you can go through, and there are all sorts of forms every now and then. If you go into, you know, HR here, for instance, sorry, not that. Here, this one, sorry. If you go here at the bottom, there's a form for me to fill out if I needed to book a platform tour. So all of that is possible, which is the kind of the typical way of generating leads through a website. Now, kind of non-typical way of generating leads, or something that's slightly new, is actually just creating a full-page bot. So like I said earlier, you can actually just have a full-page bot that's hosted on your website, that you just link to from your website. So here, in this instance, I could be navigating everything, just learning about you know, what this platform does and how this would really benefit my business. And then if I want to actually book a demo here, I can click this button here in the top right, which, now that you're quite familiar with it, will take me to a full-page bot. So importantly, kind of a different look here. This one is blue and really you know, relevant to the brand of the bot that we created before, and this one is purple, which is the ubisend purple. And this chatbot here is literally just built to generate leads for us. It sits in the top right of our website. When people click it, they get onboarded into this experience, which is kind of a funnel-like experience of just talking to the bot and figuring out, you know, what they can get from it. And so the very first message is, hi, I can help you book a tour of the ubisend platform. Next, what would you like to prefer? What would you prefer? A guided tour based on your requirements, access to a sandbox to have a click around, or a quick chat to see if we're what you need. And so here I can literally just go through, and we're 2 out of 2 here, so I can just pick one of the options. So I'd like a guided tour, and it's going to take me to this interaction here. So I can, kind of similar to earlier, I can say, you know, topmail.com, and it's going to ask me for my first name. It's going to ask me for a phone number. So I'm not going to go through the entire thing, but as you can see, it kind of lives on our website and does all of these things that we kind of just discussed. The really interesting aspect of using a full-page chatbot for lead generation is this completion rate aspect. because people, like I said, because people land on here and they are immediately engaged with the bot, and they don't easily get distracted because there's literally nothing else for them to do on this page but talk to us. The completion rate is excellent. So typically, again, we'll go through the exact numbers, but typically, 60-70% of people who engage with the bot will go through the entire 3 or 4 steps of submitting their details and actually become a lead for us and go and talk to them. So all of this works really, really, really well. When you see drop-off rates on forms, I don't exactly remember the statistics, but there's something, it's quite a large number of percentages that people drop off when they actually when the form is a bit too long, or when they have to type too much things, and it's just not very engaging and people just get distracted. And so this bot works really, really well for this. So what I want to do here is I kind of want to apply the same critique eyes that I just did to this bot, to the Booker demo with ubisend bot. So the first thing I noticed is this first interaction is really good. It really engages the user. Hi, with a little emoji. Emojis are always really good. It looks really nice as well. I can help you book a tour of the ubisend platform. Super important to have very, very clear kind of purpose for your bot at the start of the interaction, just to make sure that people know exactly what they're here for. As you know, the ubisend platform has loads and loads of users, loads of companies in the world are using it, and so there is a chance that someone might land on this bot thinking this is a customer service bot, and they have some sort of questions about how to use the platform. And obviously this very first message here tells that person exactly precisely, no, this is not what you'll get here, so they can just leave. So if I hit next here, I guess some of the stuff that we could do here, as you can see, what we've done with this particular bot is exactly what I said I would have done with the previous one, which is merging messages together. So in the previous step, we have hi, and then we have I can help you book a tour of the ubisend platform. Now, if this had been a normal bot, hi would have been one message, and then I can help you book a tour of the ubisend platform would have been a second message. And so I would have had to click between the two. But now here, this one has actually been built really, really well in that it has these 2 messages in one. It's saving the user a lot of clicks. It's saving the user 1 click here. And then in the next step here, it also has this kind of 2 paragraphs, which again could have been 2 very different messages within the bot if it had been a converse widget bot. But in this instance, they are merged together, again saving us a click, so saving us 2 clicks in one message, which is perfect. One thing I would say is, although there is loads of real estate within the bot, you don't necessarily need to use all of it. I would say maybe this little breakdown here is not necessarily needed. You could have these texts on the buttons are actually quite self-explanatory. So would you prefer a guided tour, to access the sandbox, book a quick chat with an expert, and go back to the website would be nice as well. But I do think having more content on a full page bot is actually quite nice. It just keeps users engaged. Now, if I click, I've done the book a tour. What I can do is book a quick chat as well. And this one would allow us to actually book a meeting with someone at ubisend right now. So I just click this button. I've spun up our calendar so you can book. It did this interaction that we just discussed earlier. Root moves everything to the left. Brings the nice calendar here on the right, and this would allow me, I don't actually know which tool this is, probably Calendly or something like that, but this would actually allow you to book a time in one of our salesperson's diaries. So if I was someone looking to actually talk to someone, I could just say, okay, I'm available on the 26th at 9 a.m. And I can confirm this and actually book this time with them. So that's super, super helpful. I can click next here. If you actually just book this meeting, another thing that you can do is actually obviously provide additional resources to the users that have booked a meeting with you. So I've booked a meeting for tomorrow at 9 a.m. I'm a bit bored until then, so I could go and have a look at the ubisend case studies, or I could go and have a look at the ubisend's latest webinars, etc., etc. So this is another really good thing about this bot that we created here for the ubisend website, is that it's not just trying to gather leads. It also does a bit of the nurturing. It also does a little bit more. It gives more values to the user. Okay, let's have a look at restarting this, so we can go through the other flow. So all of this for now is perfect. So I can access the sandbox. So this would be if I wanted to just test the platform. I don't want to speak to a human. I don't want to have a sales call. Just leave me alone. I just want to play with the platform. Absolutely understandable. That's probably how I would do things as well. And so you can actually do that. So it can take up to 48 hours to access a sandbox account. A fleshy human has to spin it up for you. So that's obviously a good reminder for the person doing this that they're not just going to get access to this immediately. If you're happy with this, then continue. Otherwise, it might make sense to book a demo. So you can kind of switch between back and forth. I can continue with the sandbox here, which would, again, I'm not going to go through this flow, but would just ask a few details about me and basically capture these details, create a lead in our CRM. So an important thing as well. Integrations work obviously perfectly within the full page bot as well. So again, I'm inside this flow now, and this is all I can do. So I'm just going to go through this. There's probably 3-4 steps in this flow. And it's just gonna really keep me engaged until I'm done and I've given all of my details and I'm just waiting for my sandbox account. So all in all, I would say this bot is pretty much perfect in terms of the interactions, in terms of the language, in terms of the expectations from the users. We're really setting the expectations really early on, which is exactly what you want. We are providing with this fully immersive experience, which is very good as well. And we are making use of the various little message types that we can use within the full page bot. Just kind of slide in the thing, the nice buttons, nice images, nice cards, and all that sort of stuff. So yeah, unsurprisingly, a bot built by ubisend is obviously pretty spot on. All right. Also importantly for this one, actually I didn't really mention, but this one was actually built just for full page bot. So if you go on our website and you go into this chatbot here, this is a completely different chatbot. So it's not the same at all. Now we could have done the same, well, on both sides, but we didn't. And so this one is actually built solely for a full page experience, which also gives you more freedom to actually build exactly what you want, which is obviously really good. All right, let's do a final little check of another bot that we built. So I'm going to switch this to the latest, what was it called? Lead generation bot. Is this one? All right, so this lead generation bot is the latest one we built. I think we built this, it was my last session last week when I did an integration to Airtable, which worked really well. And I think was a really good session around that. So did we actually build a full page bot for this one? We actually did design it. I remember designing it. So we did activate full page bot and we did a Telegram bot as well from this, which is interesting. Okay, so we have a full page widget. Perfect. It looks absolutely disgusting. And I know we talked about that many times. But obviously, it's important to know that you can actually tweak these colors. So you have access to obviously the branding behind it, which is how you create this this look and feel of the bot. So if I just leave it as that for now, because I can't deal with the ugly yellow there, I'm just going to leave it at that. It's a bit black and white and a bit like movie from the 60s or something like that, but it looks good. Okay, so once again, if I remember correctly, we built this bot specifically for the Converse widget. So again, we can go through it and just make sure that everything is working properly. One of the things I want to do is first obviously design it. At the moment we're showing the logo, but it's super silly. You can't actually even see it. I don't know if you can see it, but it's really silly. It's in here somewhere. So that would be one thing I would fix here. So the colors of the brand, of the bot, and the logo needs tweaking here. If this was something that you were to send your website visitors to from your website, I don't think this would actually make much sense. Like the yellow dog it's kind of a brownish yellow. Doesn't really have much other colors, but this full page bot has absolutely no recall to that color, to that branding. So people would probably imagine that they just went to a completely different app. They would be very confused. There is no, again, brand recall in the top left here, where users would probably expect a nice big logo about representing our brand. So again, it's really important that if you create an immersive experience within a full page chatbot, this immersive experience needs to make sense for the user's perspective. You can't just create, well, you could, but I would expect that you would have a really bad drop-off rate there. You can't really expect people to move from click on one button and go to a completely different looking experience and assume that they're still talking to the same people, that they're still going through the right inquiry that they wanted to go through. And so this is a pretty poor job at doing that. I think the main reason we didn't really do I didn't really do a very good job at this is the logo that I picked for this particular pretend company. Obviously these companies are fake, is just not very, the colors are just a bit ugly. And so if we play around with that, it just looks a bit ugly. So that's fine, we'll just leave it as that, but that's important to have a look at, because, final point on this design thing, in the widget actually looks really good. We have the color here, we have the black, we have the yellow. It looks really nice because the colors are kind of separated and they're really nice. It's just when you go into the full page bot that you actually just need to actually edit this. In terms of having the logo, I think I would always recommend having a logo there in the top left. It's just nice recall. All right, so let's go and have a quick look at what we can do with this one. So we have some FAQs, obviously, so I can say, what are your SEO services? So yeah, welcome to our chatbot. I can help you find anything about SEO, PPC, and web design. So again, I would merge these two messages. You know now that this is what I would do. If this was our kind of only channel that we had, I would merge these two messages. In terms of actually asking about SEO services, all right, our services include a full audit of website audit, 18-page document, perfect. I can make an inquiry. I'm not going to do that just yet. I just want to ask about portfolio because I think, if I remember correctly, we're using a nice carousel here, which looks good as well. So I can read the case study, I can talk to experts, I can navigate between the carousel, perfect. So as you can see, yeah, the text keeps moving, keeps changing. So this is all perfect. So this is exactly what I want. Now, the very first one here is the website. The last one is, I think, is SEO. Yeah. So I'm going to do an inquiry, which, as you remember, it has about 8 steps or something like that. But it does have a lot of steps that are really, really interesting for us to have a look at to make sure that the interaction is correct. Okay, I can put you in touch with one of our experts. It would just need a few details. So again, this is 2 messages. I will merge them into one, asking for my name. I'll do that. Oops. Nice to meet you. Again, merge these 2 messages into one. There's no real need for splitting up the messages here. To kickstart your SEO requirements, I'd love to know about your business. Which industry are you in? So this is the one I always struggle with. I'm in healthcare. Okay, you're in the healthcare industry, noted. Perfect, so it remembered that I'm in healthcare, which is great. Next step, what sort of a monthly budget are you working with? So this is an interesting one, and actually it's the first one that we've encountered that looks like this. We've actually used here what we call a quick replies message. So if you go into docs.ubisend.com and you just search for message types, you'll find you'll find everything you need to know about message types. There are quite a few different ones. Quick replies, if we go just to this one, it looks like this. So it has a message and it has a few little buttons here that you can click, which is exactly what we have here. We have a message and we have a few little buttons. Now the difference is, with this particular one, is that we don't have any input field. We turned off the input field for this particular question. And we did this back then because we realized that when people get to a budget question, what we want is really capture their budget. We don't want them to send any other message than something that we would expect we can use as far as our CRM is concerned. We want to capture the exact information that we need. And so the easiest way for us to do this is to give users the options. options that are not too restrictive, so they're very nice and clear, but also to remove the input field, the composer, to prevent them from just typing something random like 1.5 million or something like that. And so here the input field is completely gone as well, which is great. So this is exactly what we wanted. So I can just say over £10,000, which is going to take me to the next step. And now, as you can see, the input field is back. So I've allowed the user to actually give us the right answer in a format that we can find useful in our CRM. That's not going to mess everything up. A keyword. So what did I say? Healthcare. So I'm going to do surgery. Okay, got all of your requirements. Let's capture what we need to have a nice chat. All right, next step. What is your email address? All right. All right, and the best phone number to reach you on. Okay, is there a date and time that you would prefer our team users to call you? So if you were there when we built this, if you remember in the conversation widget, the converse widget, sorry, when you click on the composer here, it kind of brings up a nice date and time picker within the widget, and it does the same within the full page bot. So it just brings up this nice little widget that allows me to pick a time and a day. It kind of it's not very visible because the full page bot is black and gray anyway, but it kind of taints the back of the screen a little bit, just so that we're fully focused on what we're doing here. And so I'm just going to say, tomorrow at 2 p.m. and I can send that. Perfect. So now it's doing, if you remember last week, we did an integration here at the very last step, which is what it just did now, which is why it kind of took about a tenth of a second longer than usual to send me this last message. It's because it's sending me an email saying that there's a new lead coming, and it's also doing an integration to Airtable, which is the CRM of this pretend company, just to add basically a new row with all of this information inside the CRM for the salespeople to basically pick it up. Great, I have everything I need. Someone, most likely Steve, he's super keen, will be in touch with you very soon. So I think this whole interaction here is pretty much perfect. Again, I would merge some of the messages if I wanted to. It's not super required. I might remove the composer on some of these messages as well, just to keep things nice and clean. But overall, this entire interaction is perfect. So this kind of illustrates well why the full page bot, the full page channel is actually a really good channel for you to have a look at if you already have a converse channel, because not much will need changing for the full page bot to actually work perfectly, which is fantastic. It means that within the ubisend platform, you not only have access to all of these channels here, which there are a lot, but if you were to use the converse, the full page and the embedded, which are all three of them are ubisend built channels, which you can put on your website. If you were to use either of these three or all of these three, you basically don't have to make any changes to the bot that you may have built to kind of fit just a converse, for instance. So this kind of brings us to the end of this kind of review. I think the really key aspect of the full page chatbot is this immersive experience. It's incredibly important to keep users focused within a conversation. People will get distracted by things on your website or by a message from their friends if you're using Facebook Messenger, and if you're using the full page chatbot, all of that kind of goes away, and you can really create an experience that will draw the user in until they reach the point at which they are reaching their goal and achieving what it is that they want to achieve and what you want them to achieve. So it's an incredible channel. We're really proud to have released this this week for everyone. If you have a ubisend account, just go in and have a look. If you do not have a ubisend account, you obviously found out now that you can contact us via the big button in the top right of our website, or obviously just reach out to anyone that you might know at the company, or just send an email to sales@ubisend.com. That's it. Hopefully you enjoyed it. Let me know what you think in the comments or anything like that, and if you'd like to see more about this, or maybe look at the embedded bot later on, we can do that as well. Thanks everyone. I'll see you next week.